So this one was much different than the first. It started off differently because it was right after a miscarriage. So Sanjaya was my rainbow baby. And we planned for her, but immediately I became sick. And this time the sickness was even more extreme than it was the first time. I had tylism again, and so I was very nauseous all the time, overproducing saliva that made me sick if I swallowed it. So I was just sick all the time. And in addition to being sick all the time, I also was taking care of a toddler. So I started to experience some depression when it came to this pregnancy. And looking back, I can tell you that it was pretty severe depression. It was much deeper than what people kind of led on to what it was like, because I remember having moments where I felt like I wanted the pregnancy to end. And maybe I didn't share that piece with people because clearly that felt shameful. But I did say that I was struggling and having a hard time. And so I went through this pregnancy going to the triage multiple times. There was some bleeding early on in this pregnancy, which probably added to the depression and anxiety because I had just experienced a miscarriage. So I felt like I was always threatening to miscarriage and carry again, and I felt very sad and lonely and down, and it just wouldn't go away. And no one seemed to take me seriously. And I can't say that that's anybody's fault. It could just be that I didn't express myself the way I was ultimately feeling, even though I thought that I did a great job. I remember actually going into my appointment, and I thought that I wanted to, I felt really sick, and I think I had come out of maybe multiple trips to the triage to get fluids for dehydration, and I put on clothes this day. I took a shower. I'm going to the doctor, right? And I'm telling the doctor that I do not feel good. Also, I think that this is warranted. I don't know if this matters at all, but I think it goes to say that during this pregnancy, I also had gone down to working part-time. So insurance had become a problem. And so I didn't see the same primary physician because I was getting support through a clinic. And so this one time I go in, and this is the first time I see this physician, and I explained that I've been having problems this entire pregnancy with dehydration, weight loss, and things like that. And he said, and I'm just not feeling well. So this is me telling the physician, and he looks at me and he says, well, you look fine. And I could not believe that I'm telling him that I don't feel good, and he says that I look fine. So I can't remember, but I believe that I might have gone over his head. I might have asked for someone else to speak with, and they actually ended up checking me into the triage because everything was off. When I said that I didn't feel good, I meant that I didn't feel good. And when the tests were run, the numbers complied with the fact that something was off. But he literally looked at me in my face and said, well, you look fine. And so that was just one of many very troubling experiences during this pregnancy. And as I mentioned, I was already dealing with depression. And so this was difficult. fast forward, I wanted to have a vaginal delivery, so this would be a VBAC. I wanted to go into labor on my own, but I wasn't able to. I was told that I couldn't go past 40 weeks because I had a prior cesarean, and I would threaten the tissue or the scar tissue reopening. And so I was given an epidural and induced. And so with that happening, we had a little bit of trauma. There was, at one point, I had to, the biggest thing was that the Pitocin, the pain that I was experiencing from the Pitocin was extreme, like extreme. And I wanted an unmedicated birth. And so I have a pretty high tolerance for pain, but this was extreme. Like, I felt like my back was about to split open. And I remember telling my husband, I need you to get me the epidural. Like, this was pain that I had never felt before. And so and even though Jerron was a cesarean, I still went through an induction and labor pains, and it was nothing like that. So at some point later on, my husband shared with me that he saw the nurse cranking up the Pitocin multiple times, even after I expressed that I was really in a lot of pain. That was not something that she recognized as being valid, I guess. I don't know, but it made sense later on as to why I felt so much pain. And so there was a time where a Foley bulb was used and my permission was asked, but I remember not feeling like, I felt violated, and I don't know why. I can't tell you why, but I definitely felt violated. I cried. Eventually, she was born, and there was a lot of trauma with her birth, and so they had to keep her for a little while, and then they finally brought her over so that I could breastfeed her. And eventually, we were released from the hospital. And that was weird as well because she was having poopy diapers, but according to the nurses, she wasn't having urine in her diapers. And so I was a breastfeeding mom and I wanted to breastfeed again, but they tried to force formula. At that point, I was already a founder of I Am Breastfeeding. So I had friends that were certified lactation consultants. And so I asked about having to use formula, and they helped talk me through that. As you don't have to do that, you can actually pump, ask for a breast pump. Nobody even gave that as an option. So I asked for a breast pump, I pumped, I fed her with a bottle so that they could see how much she was actually taking in, and eventually we were released from the hospital a day later than what we were supposed to. But that experience was really weird, really traumatic, and in the end, I feel like that added to my postpartum depression because my experience was just much different than what it probably should have been. And so I say that was my second birth experience in a summary, because it could go so much deeper than that, but summarizing it, because I have to teach this class in just a few minutes, that was my second birth experience. So my last one that I'll share soon was a little bit more, well, actually a lot more peaceful. It was the experience that I should have had all along, and I can't wait to share that with you.